spin, spin, spin. Spin, 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 spin. Gluck, 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 gluck. Oh, holding hands. Oh yeah. So I wanted to start this video with Vespa's history, but I just found that I have a nice steep uphill. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I thought, well, what the hell? There's no traffic, so let's just rip it and see what this baby can do. What up, guys? So I just finished putting stabilizer in this beautiful Vespa GTS 300, which means that now I gotta take it out for a quick ride to get all the stabilizer to run through the fuel system before I can put the bike away for the winter. So I thought, while I'm taking this thing out for a little ride around the neighborhood, why don't I record the ride and let you guys know my thoughts on Vespa's history, a little review real quick of the GTS 300, and talk to you guys about what I love and what I hate about this Vespa GTS 300. So everyone can recognize a Vespa. For decades now, Hollywood and pretty much the rest of the world has been in love with these gorgeous, iconic Italian machines. But a lot of people don't know the history of Vespa. They were first made by a company called Piaggio, which started out building a lot of trains, planes, ships, pretty much anything that was needed to keep Italy rolling during the Second World War. After the war, Italy needed an efficient and economical means of transportation for the people. So that's when the first Vespa was born in 1946. 10 years later, by 1956, over 1 million Vespas were produced, and then things went crazy. In the next 4 years, that number went up to 4 million Vespas in production.
Hi. I love that.
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
What's it called?
Vespa.
A Vespa.
Yeah.
You know, in England they have these.
Oh yeah,
In
definitely.
Italy and
Yeah.
Spain and everything.
All over Europe.
We should all be riding them, really.
Super efficient.
But
Yeah.
you know what? It seems to me to be such a lovely thing.
The red really pops, eh?
Unbelievable. What a red. A Vespa. Have
Take
a
care.
nice day.
You too. Before I talk about this specific Vespa and modern Vespas, I'll give you one more fun historical fact. Vespas actually borrowed a lot of their design from Piaggio's aviation history. So for example, the single-sided front forks, which Vespa still uses today, like 75 years later, are based off of aircraft landing gear. And the original Vespa actually used an aircraft starter motor as its engine, which is really cool stuff. But let's fast forward to today. Today's Vespa, though it's still small and round and beautiful, is an absolute beast compared to those small frame motors of years gone by. This Vespa GTS 300 is a 280cc liquid-cooled, fuel-injected single-cylinder engine. It kind of is like the perfect mix between technology and simplicity. The Vespa isn't over-engineered, but it's tuned to make decent power, and it's allowed to simply be elegant and tasteful. While it handles great due to the short wheelbase, the small tires don't necessarily take the ruts in the road as well as bigger tires on a motorcycle. The suspension is adequate, but if you do really hardcore riding on this thing, you might want to upgrade it, which sounds a little bit silly. But Vespas are so popular all over Europe and Asia that there is a ton of aftermarket suppliers. So pretty much any kind of aftermarket accessory you want, you can find it for a Vespa. The power is pretty good too. I used to ride an LX150, which I really like. This Vespa is noticeably bigger. It's also noticeably faster, especially going up hills. In the 300cc GTS, Vespa has a bike that you can take on the highways, though I don't know if I'd want to be on it for highway trips that are longer than, say, maybe an hour. Where the Vespa excels is for inner city commutes, or maybe urban to suburban commutes, and occasional highway trips, or short daily highway jaunts. Now, before I go any further about the bike, I want to answer some common questions that people seem to have about Vespas in general or about the GTS 300. So a lot of people ask, especially if they're watching this video, maybe you're interested in how it might compare to other Vespas, like, for example, the Vespa GTS 250. It's 50 cc's more, or is it? Well, actually, it's only about like 30-ish cc's more, maybe 40 tops. It's not as big of a difference as you might think. In fact, the 300cc makes a little bit more torque than the old Vespa 250, but it doesn't make any real noticeable difference in horsepower. And that's probably because emission requirements from governments have become more and more stringent with time, and it really drains all the fun out of little motors. And it means that to make the same amount of power as before, manufacturers like Piaggio, who makes Vespa, have to make the engines bigger just to keep it at the same power level that people expect. So if you're on the fence between getting a used Vespa 250 or a new 300, I'd say if you can save a bunch of money getting the used 250, do it. Get the 250 and put the money towards some performance parts. Like I said, there's a huge aftermarket for Vespas. I had a bike that used the same motor as the Vespa 250cc, and I put some Velocity performance rollers in there, and that thing is way more fast than this 300cc GTS. It's a pretty easy do-it-yourself mod if you have the right tools, and it'll get you a lot more power. Another question I see people asking a lot is, should you buy a Vespa over a motorcycle? That really depends. If all you've ever really wanted is to ride a motorcycle, get a motorcycle. This is not a replacement for that. But if what you want is something that's really cute, light, economical, easy to ride, fun, gets you from A to B, looks good, get a Vespa. There's no shifting. There's even some storage space underneath the seat. If you need something that is strictly practical, get a Vespa. If you want all of the attitude and all of the revving up your motor, get a motorcycle. Now, for whatever reason, Buddy over here on the left has been driving like a maniac, trying to keep up or get ahead. He totally does an uncontrolled stop, blocking most of the pedestrian crosswalk. So he's a little bit of a hothead. But as soon as that light turns green, I hit the gas, and you can kind of see him in the rear view, and he's just falling more and more behind as this thing takes off. And he's no longer anywhere to be seen. Now the next question people usually ask me is, how do the gears work? Is it automatic? Kinda. It's a CVT transmission, so you don't shift. You just twist the throttle and roll away. It's a brake, it's those levers at the front, just like a bicycle, front brake, back brake. Sometimes when people see the Vespa GTS, especially like this one, if it has like a big top case on the back, on a center stand, it looks kind of much more imposing and intimidating than they kind of expected from what they thought might be a little cutesy scooter. And they'll ask me, are there smaller Vespas out there? And the answer is yeah. Vespa makes bikes in small frame and large frame sizes. If the GTS feels too big for you, that's because it's built on their large frame platform, and you should be looking for small frame or lower displacement size Vespa, like their S150s or their LX150s or anything like that. At this point, people start to throw out the retro and the nostalgia. That's when I get asked, is it better to have a new Vespa or a vintage Vespa? Now, that depends on how you plan on using it. I personally had a 40-year-old 1979 Vespa Sport 100. Sometimes it started up, sometimes it didn't. The bike had drum brakes instead of disc brakes, and honestly, stopping on that bike in crazy city traffic was terrifying. You gotta understand that these vintage Vespas, they were made for a different era with a different number of vehicles on the road in a different part of the world. So their application is going to be limited for a lot of us. For most of the time that I had my 1979 Vespa Sport 100, it actually lived in my kitchen and was more of a decor piece than anything. So if you want something that sits there and looks cool, or something that you can tinker with yourself if you have that capacity, you can go for the vintage Vespa. But if you want something that's going to be reliable, that is going to be good on gas, gives you storage options, not going to be breaking down, not going to be leaking, go with the modern Vespa like this GTS 300. I'll be quite honest, my first bike wasn't a motorcycle. I started on a scooter, and I don't regret it because that was what I could afford at the time, and instantly I caught the bug and I was like, this riding thing is for me and I gotta do this. 7 months later, I bought my first motorcycle. Now, before I sound like too much of a fanboy, I should answer this question, which is there anything that I hate about the Vespa GTS 300? A couple things. First of all, the underseat storage isn't as big as it looks. So the underseat storage looks like it's just this big long thing. The truth is it doesn't actually fit a full face helmet. It'll fit a 3/4 helmet and a half helmet, but not a full face. So if you ride a full face, you're going to want to get a top case like this one has. The small tires, it's a scooter thing. A lot of scooters have these smaller tires. The Vespas is very much in line with their style. If you have some serious potholes and stuff, it won't take it as nicely as if you're on a bigger motorcycle, bigger, taller tires. But other than that, I love the bike. It's not as aggressive as a motorcycle, but it's graceful, nice to look at. It has its own charm, and it's guaranteed fun to ride. Anyway, that's my little first ride impressions of the Vespa GTS 300. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. If you do, please give this video a like. If you want to see more motorcycle and scooter content, including some how-tos, tips, infos, all kinds of good stuff, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot. Ride safe. If you got any questions, or if you want to just let me know your thoughts on the Vespa, love it or hate it, please leave me a comment down below. Thank you guys. Ride safe. Peace.